Yes, we can see you now, Nadja. Welcome again. Oh, wait, but we cannot hear you. Oh, my Lord. No.
Now?
Now, there we go.
Yeah, okay.
Okay,
But
perfect.
I can't share my, I don't have sharing permission. If you would
Yes, give
be
me
able to
one
give me
second.
sharing permission. So then I'll go ahead and start, introduce myself. So I have a career in NATO, cyber security and crisis management for nearly 2 decades. So still well conserved dinosaur, as I call it. And then in can I share now? Oh wait, let me share my screen because then it makes sense with my story. Voila. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so I don't see you anymore. So if you do have questions or want to say something, please take the mic and interrupt me. It's no problem because I don't see anyone except for my screen. Um, so today I'm going to I got the questions that most of you asked, which I will address them during this presentation. And a little bit of background about me. I started working at NATO in southern France when I was 21 years old. I was a newbie in the workforce, and I worked my way up from secretary to senior executive. My background is in international relationships, and in various positions I was always working also in cyber and digital transformation, technology impact, and translating the impact of cyber and technology into different stakeholders map. So decision makers, political decision makers, military, industry, private sector, a whole range of stakeholders from over 40 countries. And I worked in different positions. I was also deployed in Afghanistan. And after a career of 18 years specifically, I fell into burnout. And then I thought, let's go find Nadia's soul. I'm still looking for my soul from time to time, but I handed in my resignation and I started emotional intelligence, which is my passion in life, 1 year before the pandemic. So the universe tested my resilience as a single mother trying to make ends meet, like many people did during that time. And it really helped me pivot in focusing on the emotional resilience part and the leadership part and how we navigate the digital challenges from a non-technical perspective. So I use my background, my experience and expertise in NATO and better equipping leaders and educating people about emotional resilience. Very passionate about mental health because I've myself been in many, I don't know if I can say this, excuse my French, shitholes in life. And I always manage to come out of them. So I share every Saturday in my newsletter my personal experiences to empower others to never give up when faced with adversity, and how you can actually use your emotions to keep going, which is not easy at times, but I hope I can do my little part in making the world a better place. I am a proud mother. I'm happily divorced since 7 years now. So the happily is starting to lose its meaning. I have a 11-year-old son. I have a weird sense Dutch humor, so I'm already giving a warning sign. And I have a bunny as well, a rabbit. He's now eating, so he will leave us alone, hopefully. And I'm obsessed with everything emotional resilience. What I start with is I was born in a cultural dichotomy. I was born in the Netherlands with a Moroccan background. And I think society and culture taught me early on that I couldn't become someone or I couldn't surmount to a lot of things. And I want to start off with don't fear to dream big. No matter what the odds are, no matter where you were born, no matter where you are in life, don't fear to dream big. So dream big. There are many things that people told me I couldn't do that I didn't think I could do, and I did anyway. And it's because of the mindset, the support as well, which is important in life. We need each other to inspire and lift us up, but the most important thing is to believe in yourself even when no one else does. So I'm going to go a little bit deeper into that, but here's me with my son when he was still very cute and innocent, and now that is changing with the year. He's still very, cute and innocent, but he also has different sides, like all of us. And I'm very proud. I made this to make Women for Cyber proud as well, to be part of their book, Europe's Top Women in Cyber. I personally, I sometimes people say, well, why don't you say this in your LinkedIn bio? And why don't you say that you have this? I don't personally like to brag about these things because I value more character and leadership and people's personality than their accolades. But in this industry, people pay attention to your titles and status. So don't hesitate to put yourself forward. At this age in my time in my life, I prefer to keep it to do how I want to position myself. What is imposter syndrome? Well, there's a lot of good news actually about imposter syndrome, because there have been studies that shown that people who are highly intelligent, who have high success rates in life, actually suffer from imposter syndrome. So I want to give two dimension to this phenomena, imposter syndrome, that already may help you in better understanding it and navigating. So in a nutshell, imposter syndrome feels like you are going to be exposed. People are going to find out who you really are, because you don't feel that you are worthy or you deserve the achievement or the promotion or whatever, or the relationship, whatever it is in your life. We're not going to make this about a relationship webinar, otherwise Women for Cyber is going to leave Nadja meeting. We're going to keep it on cybersecurity, but it is a phenomena that affects all areas of our life. So it has to do with how we view ourselves, how we grew up, and what was modeled to us as children, and our past experiences. But it also has a lot to do with basic human biology. Everything that is unfamiliar to our mind, to our brain, feels like a threat to our nervous system, to our body. So for example, if you are now doing this program and you want to completely pivot into a different field in cybersecurity, or cybersecurity is your pivot, completely new, there's going to be a lot that is unfamiliar to your brain, to your mind, which is going to cause stress response because it feels as a threat. What does our ego do then to keep us safe? Is going to make us feel uncomfortable and come up with all kinds of stories and narratives why we shouldn't do it, why we are not enough, and everything that we tell ourselves on a day-to-day basis. That is actually normal because it is unfamiliar. Everything that is unfamiliar is perceived as a challenge and feels like a threat to our body. This is where you need to feel your feelings and flip your script. It is what you tell yourself and how you perceive the unfamiliar through a mindset of growth mindset. I have not yet these skills. I don't know yet how I am going to pursue this. Everything is figure outable, like Mary Forleo wrote a book about it. So it's important to understand the difference between real fear and stress, like a real threat, if there is a car is going to hit you, or physical threat, versus the stories we tell ourselves because our ego wants to keep us safe. So those are two dimensions, and we're going to focus more on the dimension of our self-identity, our self-perception, and how in life as we evolve, how we also need to evolve our mindset and how we view and think. And how we think, our thoughts create certain emotions, right? The way we perceive ourselves has triggered certain emotions. And when we were young, between the age 0 and 7, that's when we learned everything about emotions through our parents, through our caregivers, through our environment, what was modeled. And this is where emotional intelligence can be a healthy tool or constructive tool for you to help you shift the narrative based on your understanding of how you view yourself through the emotional intelligence lens and challenges. Emotional intelligence is all about how we handle our immediate environment and how we navigate and build relationships and how we actually circum challenges as well. So it's more about our immediate environment, our immediate challenges, how we perceive ourselves and others, versus cognitive intelligence, which is also critical in cybersecurity because you need to use your IQ a lot, is more strategic, long-term analytic. This is one model. It's a comprehensive model, EQ model, designed by Reuven Bar On and issued by the Multi Health Assessment Center in Canada. And I came up with this concept, emotional firewalls, because I use these EQ markers in cyber for building emotional firewalls to make it more relevant to the digital challenges. Now, this model is a tool that you can use to overcome the challenges you face now and you will face in your career journey and in your new role when you transition. And it helps you make more constructive inner dialogue, but also constructive dialogue with others through the lens of self-perception, how you view yourself. This is critical, and how you view yourself is how the world will also view you. Often we judge others because we judge ourselves, and sometimes we're not even aware of it. So it's important to understand how you view and like yourself in light of both your positive and less positive qualities. That's self-regard, your ambition, right? Often, for example, one challenge I faced a lot is as a mother and formerly a wife, that I couldn't be ambitious and career and be a mother at the same time. And I believed that narrative, which is why it affected my career and my quality of life. Versus now I have a very different perception of it. Understanding your emotions, knowing why you feel what you feel so you can manage them better, it's also really important because in life, people, things will happen, will trigger you. How do you manage these emotions? And then we have how we express ourselves. This is important for communication, how we build relationships and trust with others. It's interpersonal, how we make decisions under pressure and how emotions play a role, and how we manage stress. So this is the nutshell, the toolkit. We're not going to dive into each one of these because we don't have time for that in this webinar, but I'm going to give examples based on the questions that you asked on how do you navigate imposter syndrome and some others. So the first
Nadja,
yes.
Sorry to interrupt. I see the slides slightly cut in the borders. I'm not sure if it's just me.
Slightly what?
Cut, like I don't see the borders.
I don't know. I see the whole presentation.
You see the whole thing?
Can you see it now, maybe? No.
Now we see Canva, but we see the whole thing.
Okay, maybe we'll leave it like this.
Okay, yeah, because we couldn't read the first part. Perfect, thank you. Fixed.
So
sorry, go on.
Now I can see your face as well, so it makes it even nicer. How to navigate imposter syndrome? Now, my personal view is that having imposter syndrome is not a bad thing. I think in life we try to overcome so many things, but it's not about necessarily overcoming everything, but how do we move forward? Because I think some levels of imposter syndrome is healthy because it allows us to reflect. What we need to learn is to detach our self-worth with imposter syndrome and not internalize it. So how can you do that? You can use two EQ tools of reality testing. Reality testing, so people who tend to have low reality testing are often people who make a lot of assumptions and fiction in their mind versus what is actually happening. So for example, let's say Saskia is now raising her eyebrows at me and looking directly at me. And if I have low reality levels testing, I may think, she's judging me, or she's upset, or she's unhappy that she couldn't see the entire presentation, or whatever it is that I come up with, right? We see the world as we are, not as it is. Versus Saskia's tired and just, raised her eyebrows for no reason at all, had absolutely nothing to do with Nadja. Right? So, and we see this a lot, right? And everyone faces it. I still face this in certain areas as well, especially when I feel tired. When I feel tired, then we have less mental energy, and then we are more susceptible to having lower levels of reality testing and starting doubting ourselves, or feeling not enough, or looking for reason to make our inner dialogue work. So this is important to disassociate. So whenever you feel that you are going to feel anxious because something happened at work, or someone didn't get back to you, or whatever it is, take a step back, feel your feelings, and then flip your script. Really understand, okay, what am I thinking? What is this disempowering narrative? Change your narrative. And then what is actually happening, right? This process of rationalizing can calm down your emotion and get you back grounded. And it requires, if you take anything away from this webinar, really work on your self foundation. The way you view yourself and the way you talk to you, the most important opinion you will ever have is the opinion you have about yourself. And the most important words you will ever speak are the words you speak to yourself. And it's not an easy journey. I grew up with a mother who had low levels of confidence. I was always told that I am not enough and I don't fit in anywhere. And now I'm very proud that I don't fit in, because I don't, I have a healthy level of self foundation. I learned more about what I value in life, and I'm still discovering who I am and what I'm exploring. There's no need to know who you are at all times, right? We are continuous work in progress, but you need to be compassionate and kind to yourself and watch how you speak to yourself. And from that space, you can move forward with navigating imposter syndrome.
Nadja, I have a question. Let me know if I'm getting ahead of the presentation. But are there questions that you can ask yourself to have this reality test? Are there any like standard questions that you can go through if you're feeling anxious or uncomfortable?
Yeah, so there is actually, and I'm happy to share it, the actual, I have a short slide question technique that's called the ABCDE technique, which is actually a set of a process you can use to diffuse your emotions. So in general, as a general rule of thumb, whenever you feel like your negative thoughts or your negative inner critic is starting, is to just stop. And this sounds very cheesy, but breathe and make sure you ground yourself, right? Get your focus back into your body or into something else. What it does, it tricks the brain into changing radio frequency, because that it's difficult to suppress negative thinking. You can't. Let me give you an example. I was excluded a lot in my career. So when I became an entrepreneur and when people didn't get back to me, it triggered me enormously. I felt anxious and I felt lack of confidence because the emotion of the past inclusion was still present. I didn't take the time to feel it and to heal it. So as a shortcut, what I did, I distracted. So I wouldn't show any emotional reaction, right? But you need to have a longer term solution and to understand what is the activating event. So in this case, if someone didn't get back to me or didn't do as they were what they were supposed to do, it triggered beliefs of, you see, I'm not good enough. I didn't perform to the expectation. Maybe I'm too intense. Maybe I should fit in more, etc. These are beliefs, and you are not your thoughts, but they feel as if they are real. So you need to identify them. And then what is the consequence? The consequence is me feeling low levels of confidence, me coming across, wasting my energy and trying to figure out what happened, etc. So it's a very disempowered behavior. And this is where you use reality testing to debate, dispute, and discard and say, well, wait a second, them not getting back to me has nothing to do with me and everything to do with them, right? We can't control people's behavior. Two, I'm no longer working in an environment where I feel excluded. That is in the past. People excluded me for whatever reason. It has nothing to do with who I am, right? You change your thoughts. And this is how you actually shift from negative thoughts to more empowered thoughts. It's not about getting rid of them. It's just the first 50% is becoming aware. And then really speaking to yourself as if you would speak to your 3-year-old self or to a 3-year-old. No one likes to speak harshly to kids, right? unless you're really, really mean. But imagine you are speaking to a 3-year-old, and that's how you then speak to yourself, because your brain is just trained 95%. It's the same story we tell ourselves, and we need to change those familiar stories to new stories that will feel unfamiliar, but to get used to it. It really requires a change in self-perception. So I hope it answered your question, Saskia. I will share the ABCDE technique, which is very helpful in diffusing emotion and changing your thought process.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So more strategies to overcome is leveraging assertiveness. Assertiveness is being able to share your point of view regardless of the opposition. And it's really important to manage this skill because as soon as you start a new role, because you want to have boundaries in place. And if you have low levels of assertiveness, you may let a lot of things slide, right, that make you feel uncomfortable. And maybe you're fearful to speak up, but those emotions are going to be suppressed. And the more they are suppressed, they are going to persist. And one day they're going to come out at the wrong time with the wrong person, and it can have a bigger repercussion. So understand where you sit at the spectrum. If you're too high, then you may come across as aggressive, which is also not conducive in the workplace. But the more you practice healthy levels of assertiveness by acknowledging people's points of view, but also not fearing sharing your own point of view, right? And when you enter a new role, it's also about a time of observation, understanding the team culture, but be very clear when you start a new job to observe first, and then make sure that you have, who you are from the beginning. It's clear, because when I fell in this trap as well, I wanted to please and to make everyone happy, to fit in, but then people, you give them one finger and then take the whole arm and the whole body, and then you are burned out, and then you're replaceable, and everyone is replaceable, unfortunately, no matter how much they love you and appreciate you. But you have to be really clear upfront on how are you going to manage this. This is also then related to stress tolerance, because the more negatively we think about ourselves, or the more we worry, the more negative emotions we feel, the more negative energy we generate, and the higher stress levels we have. So really understand that stress tolerance is not management. It's not only about physical exercise, but it really starts with your mind and your thoughts and the emotions you feel. Negative emotions are not bad at all. You should never deny negative emotions. For example, and maybe it's changing now, but especially in the cybersecurity industry, emotional expression is still very much frowned upon, right? But people can feel sad, and then there's immediately, oh, what's wrong with you when you feel sad? Well, there's nothing wrong with you if you feel sad. I would say now, in my age and in my point of my career, I wouldn't say this if I was starting out. I would say because I'm human. That's why I'm sad, right? But I face this a lot. People, if they're unfamiliar, they immediately think something is wrong with you when you display negative emotions. But that becomes toxic positivity, because the more you suppress your negative emotions, the more negative energy. So acknowledge them. But remember, you are not your thoughts. You can choose different radio frequency, makes you feel better. Sometimes it happens within minutes, sometimes within hours, sometimes within days, sometimes within weeks, right? Sometimes sharing having a person of confidence or you can trust also helps, right, in releasing these negative emotions that are attached to negative thoughts. So don't keep them to yourself, is what I would say. I wouldn't have enough time to share all the challenges I faced on my career path. We'll share, I think, one story. This is the biggest challenge that I faced, but it turned out to be a triumph. So I have been working in NATO for 18 years, and at a certain time, I think 2009, I started working for a director who was a workaholic, but He was very much into academic studies, and he really saw so this is important. When people see the potential in you, even if they are horrible to work with, try to keep in mind how they can support you, because it was difficult working for him, but he really made a difference in my career. He pushed me to finish my studies. So thanks to him, I went into Cambridge while I was working. And I say Cambridge not to drop names, but I will tell you why this is important. Because I went to Cambridge, I got my international relations, and I thought, okay, with my experience in NATO, I'm going to be handpicked now. Not at all. It took me 2 years from the moment I graduated from Cambridge, having had 100 applications, having had 9 job interviews and tests, 2 of them which were in my own team, and facing rejection and rejection and rejection for various reasons, right? And until there was the 10th one, and the 10th one was a dream job. It was like higher than all the other jobs I applied for. And it was just, I just felt it in my bone. But by that time I was exhausted, right? People were feeling so sorry for me. They were looking at me with those eyes like, are you sure you want to continue? Because maybe they'll just give you the people will say all kind of mean things that they don't understand the impact of their words. So you also need to develop thick skin, unfortunately, to not let it get to you. But I got all kinds of comments. I even got comments, why don't you focus on your family and, don't try again? Because what if the 10th time it would work? So the 10th time I went for this huge promotion, which was a huge step also in my grade and working at the highest level within my organization. I got selected for the interviews unanimously. So you would think that is a win. But then the big boss, the general manager who I was supposed to work with, didn't think I was capable because of my grade. So he denied the appointment, which was against all ethical standards and what you not. And people felt so sorry for me that they even, thought that this was not just and recommended me to take legal action. And here I think you really need to tap into your courage and your self-perception and emotional awareness, because I knew I didn't have the energy for any legal action, and I was not going to go that road. But instead, I applied empathy. I tried to put myself in his shoes, and why did he make the decision he made? So I called for a meeting with him, and he explained the decision he took. And then when he finished, I just listened. And here is where the mistake I made, and which is what I want to give you. I was working hard, and I was allowing other people to take credit for my work, right? I wasn't putting myself forward because that would be arrogant. That would be, too presumptuous. But because I didn't put myself forward, he did not know most of my achievements that I had achieved. So I told him that day, I told him who I was. I didn't beg him for the job. I just told him, this is how I helped you, right? And I listed all the facts, and this is how I'm going to help you even solve your problems. Within 3 weeks, I was hired, right? So this is how I turned the challenge into an opportunity by using emotional intelligence. Had I gotten, a lot of people would have gone to the path of, taking legal action, etc. But I think sometimes we need to take a step back and also understand the other person. It wasn't right what he did, but I chose to understand where he came from. And I think after that, I faced a lot of other, obviously, the impact, because a lot of people didn't agree. But this is where you have to develop emotional resilience. When they go low, you go high. You really focus on your work, on who you are. You don't let people's opinions or words take you off track. And the best advice someone gave me at that time, he said, Nadia, you see ambassadors and prime ministers and those high-level people. Do you think they care about what others say about them? They talk about them all day long. Do you think they would react? No, that's why they're ambassadors. And I think that actually resonated with me. Not everything is worth your energy, and just turn down the volume. People's opinions and people's things is more a reflection of who they are, not who you are. So never let that get to you. So that was that story. How to navigate self-doubt in the workplace. It is change your perception how you see self-doubt. I think I like to doubt, not who I am as a person, but what I do, because what it helps me is to check myself as well. And especially I work alone a lot, so I need that reflection. So the reason why doubt feels uncomfortable is because we make it about us, right? You have to have healthy levels of self-foundation, self-worth, and not make it about you. But your actions and what you do, I still make mistakes. I learn from them and I seek feedback because I want to provide excellence. I moved away from being perfectionist. I was a perfectionist, but perfectionist is often trying to prove ourselves to the world versus we are more than enough as we are. But what we do, we want to achieve excellence. We want to deliver quality work. We want to feel meaning and purpose in what we do. We want to feel fulfilled. This is where self-actualization comes in, right? And here is where mentorship and coaches and sponsors. And some of my mentors were actually people I didn't necessarily like in the beginning, or I didn't have regular meetings with them, but I observed them, right? I liked certain aspects of their leadership style where they were. So I tried to be around them and then adopt those behaviors without changing who I am. So don't confuse a mentor or a coach someone that you actually have to. There's so many mentors out there you can follow and study, and not to change who you are already someone. But in life, we need to also change our behaviors, be flexible and grow. And I think we can get a lot of inspiration, but also be clear on sometimes you will encounter your nemesis, people who will challenge you to the core. And here's where you need to have self-foundation as well and not let that get to you and have boundaries. No matter your level of experience, no matter where you come from, no one has the right to treat you less as human. And this is what I tell women: never seek to be liked, or even, you can seek to be respected, but even that, for me personally, it's not important. I don't need to be liked and I don't need to be respected, but I am trusted because integrity, right? If you say you're going to do something, then also do it. Keeping your word in today's age will make you stand out like no other, because I can guarantee you 90% of global population, at least the population I met, doesn't keep their word. And if you want to make it in your career, be someone trustworthy. And I learned the hard way that if you try to please to fit in, it will only harm your career. A lot of women miss out on strategic appointments, and like I showed in my example, because they play nice, they play small, they play to fit in. They fear disrupting the boat because people say we have to keep the peace. But whose peace are you keeping? So never play small so others can feel uncomfortable. I always say the difference between confidence and arrogance is humility. You're not better than anyone, and no one is better than you. And especially in the cybersecurity industry, a lot of people throwing status and titles and accolades at you. And I've met a lot of people in my life, and trust me, 25% have no idea what they're talking about. This is not recorded, by the way, right? Otherwise, Women for Cyber is going to take me out of the book.
It is recorded, but I can't delete it.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I don't mind repeating it. But I'm not trying to criticize anyone. What I'm saying is, don't put people on pedestals, right? Admire their achievements, but the moment you put someone on pedestal, you create a superiority inferiority dynamic, and it will feed into your imposter syndrome. You will feel less worthy than others. I always say, and I've always said this, we all go to the bathroom, period. What we do in life, how our achievements, I respect a lot of people for their achievements, but I don't feel they're better than me, and I don't feel better than anyone else. People will tell you, who do you think you are, if you make them feel insecure. It's because they feel inferior, but that's not necessarily yours to take on. So be very mindful of this, of self-doubt. Self-doubt is an opportunity to reflect and hone your craft. Don't make this about you. You are enough. And especially if you got the job, then it's just time to do the job. You don't have to prove that you are worthy of the job. You have to believe it. And even if you will be challenged at times. Understand that confidence is a skill set. It's a muscle, right? It is separate confidence with self-esteem, with self-worth. You have to feel worthy of what you want in life. Nothing is off records and nothing is too big. So you have to feel worthy. However, we all see, you know, people who talk a lot, but they don't say anything. They feel worthy, but their confidence levels off the roof, but they have nothing to show for it. So that's not the kind of person you want to become, right? So also understand that skill set and being prepared is really important. One of my ways that I've like always used in work and have always managed to get through some of the toughest situations, even when I was discredited, is because I'm always prepared. I put in the work. I put in the work every day. I know what I'm talking about. If I don't know what I'm talking about, I go find out who knows what I'm talking about. I prepare myself because no, they can take away a lot from you, but they cannot take away your mindset, your character, and how you show up, right? And so that is really important to, yes, you are worthy and you're more than enough, but go the extra mile. Today I comment a lot on LinkedIn, so feel free to follow me as well. But today someone posted about extraordinary people, and I said extraordinary people are ordinary people who go extra all the way, who do extra every day, right? That will make you stand out. It doesn't mean you have to overwork yourself, but really prepare yourself. The more you are prepared with knowledge, the less fear you will feel. And trust me, a lot of people say they know stuff, but they're not prepared, right? It's like confident people say less. Insecurity is loud and confidence is quiet. So put in the work, right? Work on your flexibility. You can focus on one technical skill set and foundation, which is important in your niche, but be a generalist as well. We are moving into a creator's economy where people value multi-talent, different skill sets. So don't be afraid to show your leadership skills, your levels of emotional intelligence, the way you work with people, how you solve situations, how you communicate, right? Don't correlate yourself with the subject matter expertise. Yes, it's important to go deep into one area that you absolutely master, but doesn't mean you cannot be good in other areas as well. And always understand that you will have challenges in life, you will have challenges in your career path, and accept those challenges. But everything is created twice, first in our mind and then in our reality. Have a vision for your life, know where you're going. When you know where you're going, you can always fall back into optimism. When things get tough, you accept the challenge, you rest, you re-energize, but you move forward. Like I said, I've been in many, and I share this in my Saturday newsletter, many difficult situations where I didn't see a way out. I've been rejected a lot of times, not me, but what I had to offer. But I always kept going. And it was the optimism that is opening doors, right? And when I started in the beginning with this emotional firewalls concept, people were laughing at me and ridiculizing me, right? And this is where self regard comes in. I didn't listen to the noise. I had a vision. I committed to my mission. I love what I do and I know where I'm going. And I just stay like, how can I do it differently? And a lot of times I learned from my mistakes. I got feedback. You also have to be humble and have an open mindset and curiosity to learn, a beginner's mindset. I also used to be, especially in the beginning of my career, I was knowing it all, right? And life humbled me a lot. So I think that will really help you in having that confidence. Separate your self-worth with who you are, but build your knowledge, prepare yourself, and cultivate confidence as a skill set. So that is the end of my presentation, and I think we can stop sharing now, and I'm open to any questions. Stop sharing. Voilà.
Thank you very much, Nadia. Well, the first question is that they've asked in the chat if you will be so kind as of sharing the slides afterwards.
Yes, not because I'm kind, but it's obviously social responsibility. And I will also share the ABCDE technique.
Perfect. Well, then yes, Nadja will send it to us and we will share it with all of you as a follow-up.
Yeah. I'll also share my website so you can. I also started like this new initiative, EQ Oasis, where I talk about emotional intelligence. And I have a podcast, a different podcast. So I have a business podcast, but I also have a personal podcast where I share how you can overcome your emotions and change a new view, a new lens, and have a more empowered mindset. It's Selfies of the Mind, new lens, new filter, new view.
Great title.
Yeah, I was like 3 years in here, and I was imposter syndrome for 3 years. I had these creative ideas, and I'm like, oh, but what will people say? And then I thought one day, I said, F it, I'm just going to put my art out in the world, and I don't care. And that's how also it's okay, I if feel the fear and do it anyway. A lot of things I do, I also feel still at this age in my point in my life, like what will happen, what will say. Creativity is all about expressing yourself, right? We need more people that express it, and you will get people who don't like it, and you will get all kinds of feedback. But always remember, there are people in this world who are looking for you and looking for your unique point of views. So don't let fear hold you back in life. Fear is the biggest silent killer for potential.
Yeah, that is so true. Are there any questions? Perhaps anyone
Thank
has
you.
a
Yeah, I have a
specific.
question.
All right, please go ahead. I don't see you, but I can hear you.
Okay, Nadia, thank you so much for the walkthrough. I really enjoyed it. I felt as if you were in the same room with me, you know,
Thank
as if we
you.
were just discussing. I understand like the example you gave about when you needed a promotion or something like that, and you were able to put forward and say, you did this, you did that, and you did this. So emotional intelligence plays a role for introverts differently because a sanguine, it's able to go out there and say, I did this, I did that, and they're not scared. They don't see it as self-promotion or something like that.
Yeah.
So I've found myself in a situation where I'm able to say, okay, even if I can't shout from the rooftop and say I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, I send it out via email, send it out to the person I report to, and expect them to acknowledge it. But Nadia, it just goes unnoticed. No, oh, I received your email until it's too late, you see. So what
Yeah.
would you recommend? Because you say if you're trying something new, if you're going, you need to be flexible, you need to be look at your self-esteem and things like that. What would
Yeah.
you recommend um, with my previous experience where what I listed out wasn't acknowledged? What would you recommend I do to avoid being disregarded in this context, right?
Yeah.
What would you recommend I do? And in terms of my emotions, um, how would you suggest I go about it when every other person is parading and saying, oh, we've done this project, we've done ABC, we've done this project and we're submitting it. It was our work, it was our handwork that got it sorted, you know. What do you suggest I do in this context?
Yeah. And thank you so much for sharing. And I'll give several dimensions, and then you can take them and see how they fit in your map of the world, based also on my experience. So I think first, I think you mentioned introvert. So I'm also an introvert, but you see, I'm very expressive. Being an extrovert and introvert has nothing to do with how expressive you are. So introverts tend to think inside. So when they, for example, are confronted, or when you are working in a team, your thought process is to go inwards first. So you think in silent. You get your energy when you are alone more to recharge. So you may have higher levels of independence. Extrovert can actually also be quite shy, but they get their energy from people. They think out loud. That's why sometimes you have this colleague who cannot stop talking, is because they're thinking out loud. So the introvert and extrovert has nothing necessarily to do with how assertive you are. And this is where this second thing would may help you is see your experience as experience of moments, right? You tried the email that didn't work, right? You are being assertive through email. So I don't know your personal situation, so you have to obviously test this and understand how it fits in. But low levels of assertiveness is when you actually not sharing your direct point of view and understanding their point of view, and also bringing the issue to the table, whatever issue it is. And that you can do face to face, right? Whether it's in a one-on-one meeting, whether it's part of a coffee. It's also about building this relationship longer terms, right? Emotional intelligence can help you choose the right moment and time to do this. The third thing I will say is there will be times where no matter what you do, how you prove yourself, there will be some people who will not want to see it and who will not help you. So you will try more and more, and they will just not do anything. So don't understand what is your threshold and stop focusing on pushing a situation that is not going to be pushed. And what helped me a lot, and I think helps a lot of people, is to be very honest with yourself and always come from a place where you already feel that you are accepted, that, you know, whatever validation or need you have from the other person, meet it yourself first. Because we people also go on vibes, right? And when we don't validate ourselves first and meet our own needs, other people will sense it. So the more you focus your energy back on you, it creates a reverse dynamic. Leave it, and what happens when you leave it? Things will come in various ways, right? So what I would advise you is to leverage assertiveness. Try maybe face to face, whether it's, you know, because you have to know the person as well on how you want to bring this up, and share how your point of view and how it makes you feel or the impact is. I always say when I talk to the big boss, I didn't make it about me or my emotion. I spent the whole weekend crying, and that helped me empty my body. And then I became crystal clear, and I really focused on, okay, this guy is ancient military, he only cares about himself and these topics. So I focused on how can I show him, reduce the risk in his mind, and I'm the right person for the job. And that's what I focused on. I didn't show emotion because emotions were out already. I didn't make it about me because I accepted myself at that moment. I meant like, I'm enough, but I'm going to do one more thing to try this job. So those are different dimensions that all play a role. But I will tell you, sometimes you do all these things and some people are just like brick walls. You just then need to move on, right?
Exactly. Moving on is something because you notice that some of them already have sponsors that are backing them up. And it's
Yeah.
quite difficult to actually articulate what you're going through. But I appreciate the fact, the third point where you said the energy inside you, innate ability,
Yeah.
recognizing the
Yeah.
good vibes because it will
Yeah.
play out in the long run. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. Thank you.
Because, and I just to close, because as an entrepreneur, when I started out, I was also chasing, right? I was seeking, and especially in this industry, right? And I started out, and I had a lot of people ignoring me or not respecting me, etc. And at one point, I came to a breaking point. I'm like, you know what? I'm no longer chasing. I am acknowledging my power. I saw myself in a different light. I have a lot to contribute, and I am the prize as well. Sometimes you need to over exaggerate about yourself so you balance out the imposter syndrome. So it's okay to think yourself highly
Yeah.
in that time, but that helped because the moment I start focusing on myself and just putting my work and let my work speak for itself, all of a sudden people, people who rejected me came back, and I said no thank you, because I am a Scorpio, and I always remember. But you don't, I mean, they don't have to. But what I mean is, and then it's like, I always say, focus on nurturing your garden. And it's easier for me to say because I am working by myself. I know when I was at NATO it would have been very difficult, but focus on your own garden, and then the butterflies will come. Because when you chase butterflies, they will fly away. So don't chase people. Don't go after their validation. Validate yourself. Think highly of yourself. You're not better than anyone. No one is better than you. Become so good. This is Oprah Winfrey. Become so good at what you do that your talent cannot be dismissed. Many times, even in my NATO career, I was excellent at what I did. And even though they tried to sabotage me a lot, it always backfired because my work spoke louder than words. So remember that. And it is challenging because sometimes you will feel like you're forgotten, you're invisible. But the most important opinion you will have is the opinion that you have about yourself. Never let anyone, don't ever give your power away to anyone else on who you are and what you can be. Like I said, your biggest legacy is not what status or titles you have. It's how you made people feel. People don't care what
Thank
you
you.
know. They will know how you made them feel.
And I like that butterfly and knowledge. Thank
Yeah.
you for that. Thank you.
Let the butterfly come to you. Just be in your energy.
I also noted that one down. Thank you, Nadja. There are a couple more questions in the chat. We are running out of time.
I'm happy to stay a few more
But
minutes,
if-
and I would love as well. Can I take a screenshot? And those who want
Of
to put on the
course.
camera. So
All right,
those who
so-
want to put on their, I'm very big on LinkedIn, and I already asked Margarita and Saskia if we can post this on LinkedIn. So if you
Of
do
course.
want your face on Nadia's LinkedIn profile and connect with me, please put on your camera. If not, you can keep your camera off. There's no obligation here, but it would be nice. And I can stay a little bit longer for those who have more questions, not a problem. There we go. Okay, so you ready? I'm gonna wait more. Bea. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Well, now Evelyn as well, so we are gonna take another one. Voila. Thank you. So please, for me, I can stay a bit longer for questions.
All right, so in the chat, we had a question from ND. I'm not sure who ND is, but she asked, how do you manage a feeling of unfairness?
How do I
Maybe
manage?
ND, I don't know if ND is still here. Maybe you want to explain your question?
How do I manage feeling of unfairness? Yes, okay. I think maybe what you mean is when you are looked over, or when somebody mistreats you, or when someone else gets a promotion before you, or when there is favor treatment, right? Yes, exactly, yes. I've been in those situations many times. And what I know now, what I would tell myself that was going through that situation is, first, I discovered, I think there is if you can look up via character strengths. It's a great resource to find out what are your signature strengths, because signatures makes up for our character and what makes us feel fulfilled and what we feel strongly about. And one core value for me is justice, fairness, and integrity. So I had double the reaction when there was injustice, when there was unfairness. And I was in the wrong place, because NATO, like any other bureaucracy, there is a lot of unfairness going in internal dynamics. So first, become aware of how you view fairness, because if this is one of your core values, it may be very important to you, but it's not perceived in the same way by someone else. So for you, it may be extremely unfair, but with someone else, it may not be. So I think this is the first thing. Second is in the short term, right? Because how do you navigate it? Is to focus your energy and pick your battles. Some battles are not worth your time, your focus, or your energy. Other battles are, and only you can know what you will tolerate and what you will not tolerate. And then understand what actions you can take and how you can speak up and stand up for yourself. I'm someone who's quite big on morality, on principles. So my circle is very small, and I'm not always liked because I speak my truth. And when I see injustice, I say so. But it will make you unpopular, right? And I'm happy with it. I choose that now, because for so many years I've expressed this side of me. So become really aware of not everything is worth fighting for, but pick your battles. And third, I think you want to ask yourself when you are looking for a job to really join an organization that matches your core values. Because if you're going to work in a place, or if you're where injustice prevails, or unfairness prevails, and you feel triggered, it's going to affect your mental health. It's going to affect your emotional being. And no matter what you do, you're going to hit the brick wall, and it's not worth it in the end. You want to also manage your energy. So I hope this helps. First, become very clear on how you perceive fairness and justice, and also understand that not everyone perceives it in the same way. Pick your battles. Not every battle is worth your time, energy, and focus. And also be very clear on the environment you work in for the longer term. You also want to work where it's compatibility, right? Because if you are big on fairness and you're going to work in an institution that compromises it all the time, you're not going to feel fulfilled in your career. You're going to make money, but you're not going to feel fulfilled. And then you cannot have the quality of life to spend the money that you're making. Some of my happiest days when I was broke. I swear to God. As an entrepreneur, I was broke in the beginning a lot, but I was much happier than when I was at NATO. So it's also about shift of perception.
Yeah.
There's so many gems. Yeah, thank you. I will share it. So if you go to the Thrive with EQ Oasis, you will see my podcast there as well.
Yeah, and then as I put in the chat, we will follow up with all the resources that Nadja has mentioned in an email, so you can have everything in one place. There are a couple more questions there's a question from Victoria. She's asking how to best approach a previous employer for reference for a new job when the relationship fell out.
So
she said
no, I'm thinking about the question. So if I understood correctly, so you have a negative relationship with the employer.
Maybe Victoria can elaborate. She said,
yes.
Oh, there she is.
Yes.
Thank you.
So you have a negative relationship with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, then I mean, you know him or her, I don't know if it's man or woman best, but keep in mind if their perception about you is still negative and if they still hold resentment about you, then asking them to be a reference, you don't control what they're going to say or how they are going to represent you, right? I mean, I also have disagreement with people, but some of them have high levels of integrity. So they would not use that against me. So I would feel comfortable using them as reference. There are other people who I know will deflect a very negative perception. And like, okay, then I wouldn't use them. So it's important to understand the personality and then for you to decide, will I take that risk? And also, keep in mind, I think that I didn't mention this, but references are important, but they don't hold a lot of weight anymore as they used to, in my view. But it's more important to showcase your thought leadership, to showcase, what you have to bring. And so make sure you are present online, you contribute, you're part of forums. And here, I went through this process as well. Be bold, just ask. I used to, sometimes if you are overthinking, I am definitely overthinking, then people with 10% of your talent are 10 times ahead of you because they don't have the intelligence to overthink and sabotage themselves. So you have to stop overthinking too much and excuses and just set some goals and just do it. I connect with people I don't know. I ask, 50% ignore me, 30% come back to me. I've just met today with a complete stranger and it was amazing, right? So don't miss out on opportunities because things are happening in your head and you don't even trying it. Just put yourself out there, ask for what you want. When you come from a place of that you are in your garden and the butterflies coming to you, it's a very different energy than when you are needing someone's approval or validation. But you can ask from a place of worthiness and you can practice this. And I love Albert Einstein's quote, you wake up every morning, am I waking up in a hostile universe or a friendly universe? And whichever lens you apply, that's your experience. Sometimes we expect people to reject us or to be negative, and that ends up what's happening. So also be very careful about your perception, and don't fear no's or rejections. They're not rejecting you because you accept yourself. They're just all kinds of reasons.
I
So
would
put
also,
yourself out there.
I'm sorry, Nadja. I would also add that if you need to share, if you need a reference, you can also ask them for a written reference instead of just listing a name, and that already gives you an idea of the kind of feedback that they're going to give, and then it's up to you whether you want to share that or not. You can be a bit smart and play around it.
To give you an anecdote about that, the general manager didn't want to hire me, ended up writing a huge recommendation letter for me for one of the fellowships I did. And it was like, oh wow, right? So it also, you have to know the person and be open-minded, because he started out not wanting me, and then he couldn't stop singing his praises afterwards as well. So understanding the person, but you have to the risk calculation. I think there is another one that says, how do you deal with a manager who underestimates you and keeps on focusing on skills that you don't know? Well, this is from Laura. I think only you understand your manager and where he or she comes from, but sometimes I have this as well, unfortunately. When you outshine the master will try to dim your light. So there could be a dimension that if someone feels threatened or feels insecure by their subordinates or someone who works for them, that then they will actively focus on the negative, so you don't feel empowered. Now, understand whether this is just coming from a place of fear or toxic. What I used to do, I always used to build a relationship, and I always used to challenge them with respect, right? I always have facts and examples of, I didn't make it about me or emotional, but I said, well, this is the impact of what I did. So you have to also manage your boss in a way, right? You have to manage your emotions, but at the same time, the more they focus on the negative, the more you focus on the impact and how you are helping your organization. However, if it's someone who has a toxic leadership style or is doing this from a place of self-sabotage, then don't pick that battle, or look at how you can navigate around it. Or if it's affecting your mental health, then I would say HR, but not every HR is also best suited. Sometimes I'm too honest, but it's really, taking a bigger perspective on how long do you want to stay there if it's affecting your mental health.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's like a mix of both, as you mentioned. And the danger of the tech industry is that you never know everything. So there's always going to be that person that's going to be pointing at the things that you don't know. So I think it comes from more of like from insecurity place. And
Yeah.
It was a previous manager I had. And
Okay.
I think sometimes the best you can do is leave, unfortunately.
Yeah. But people will challenge you, and this is why when you have a good self foundation, you just bring the focus back on impact. How are you helping? Like I said, when you become very skilled at what you do in your lane and not compare yourself with others, it cannot be denied. It cannot be dismissed.
True. Thank you
Maybe
so
not
much.
by the people you want to, but other people will see it. This is another a very important advice I will give you. Focus on building relationship across the organizations, not only in your little department or your team. Make sure you build relationship with people in very different departments, because a lot of times I had external people from my team or in my stakeholders, nations in NATO, advocating for me when colleagues try to discredit me.
Yeah, that's a really good advice, actually.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. I think we have covered all the questions.
Great.
Thank you very much, Nadja, for this very interesting webinar/workshop. As
You're
I
very
can read it,
welcome.
I was going to say I hope everyone liked it, but I can read the comments in the chat, so I know that everyone liked it a lot.
Thank you.
And yeah,
Well,
I just
connect
wanted
with
to
me
thank
on
you again.
thank you. Connect with me on LinkedIn, and when I post, please share your support and your likes and your comments. That helps me as an entrepreneur as well to bring visibility. That's how we raise each other, when we inspire, empower, and support each other. And if I can do anything, you know, also to help you, connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm always happy to answer and give you further insights as well.
We'll share Nadja's profile on LinkedIn in that email with lots of resources that we'll share tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you very much, everyone. I hope you have a...
Thank you, Victoria. That means a lot. Yay.
I agree.
you.
I agree.
Thank you so much. And it's a pleasure. I love sharing and giving back and sharing my own experience to empower. Everyone has a huge star within them, and we should let it shine and not let the world dim our shine. We were not born to play small.
I think we also have a lot of quotes to write down as inspirational quotes
Yes.
for our daily life, not only for our working life, but just in general for absolutely everything.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, everyone.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Nadja.
See you soon, all, and I look forward to connecting with you.
Thank
you very much.
Welcome. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nadja.
Thank
Bye.
you, Nadja.
You're welcome. Bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.
Thank you.